There are major decisions and errors that can be made during the foundation stage, which if you don't correct, you are stuck with them forever. While the foundation help you to avoid permanent errors that you'll be stuck with forever, the finishing is important to ensure that the final outlook or the aesthetics is according to how you want it. Otherwise, you have a very solid building, everything is perfect, but it doesn't look nice for you. Hello, welcome back to another really wonderful episode. And today I'll be sharing with you, and it's a pleasure to do so, some personal thoughts and details about building in Ghana whilst you are in the diaspora. This video assumes that you have decided to build instead of buy. And in my opinion, when you actually put all the pros and cons of buying versus building together, I would personally go with building for the foreseeable future. I'm pretty sure there'll be a time and situation and condition under which buying would make more sense to me than building. But for now, my preference is in the building of the house and having control over exactly everything that happens in the detail of the building. So if this is also you, then stay tuned as we share some thoughts and ideas about how we ensure that projects whilst you're building from the diaspora, your projects are successful. Many are worried, they have concerns, they have trust issues with people and all, and those are legitimate ones, right? But there are certain practical steps we can take to actually ensure that you have a successful project. So let's dive into that. This is our situation. We have been around twice throughout the entire building of our project. The first time was, as you can see in the video, when there was absolutely nothing there. And this is not a recommendation for anyone. I would actually give the tips from our learnings and our own mistakes. But the first time we were around, the land was bare. It just had some bush and a tree somewhere and not much else, right? So that was the first time. And the second time is this. That's what you're seeing on your screen. We came down, the entire family, and we were excited, the wife, the children, all well and good. It was exciting. It was surprising the sheer progress that had been made. And we were also filled with a lot of gratitude to God for, such a huge progress, something that we took a leap of faith in. And the success was tremendous. Grateful to God for having a great, trustworthy builder to work with all that time. So if you've been thinking of starting your own project, or maybe you've already started and you are progressing, or you've stopped along the way because of some issue with some builder and so on and so forth, I think no matter where you are, first of all, don't give up. You are able to do this and succeed at it. Secondly, don't be worried or concerned. So the first tip is that come at least twice or a couple of times during your building project. Okay, whilst we were there twice, one even before anything was put on, and then one when the structure was put up and we're looking at the finishing phases. I think you can come at very key times or points during your building projects. And two of the very key ones I would say are during the setting out of your foundation. That's the first one. And then also when you start the finishing after roofing, or right before you roof through. So depending on how much time you have, if you only have 2 visits, those are important. But if you have more, definitely come at various milestones just to check on your project. Now, why do I say the foundation is important? There are major decisions and errors that can be made during the foundation stage, which if you don't correct, you are stuck with them forever, right? And in another video, maybe I'll share and go into some of the details. But an example is, let's say, during the setting out, you kind of get a feel of the size of your rooms and how they look like and how you would access or walk through them. Some of the architectural drawings and 3D, you cannot really wrap your full imagination around it until you're actually standing there, and then you have a feel of, this is how the rooms stretch and so on and so forth. Also, the placement of the structure itself, its proximity to walls, whether it's in the center of your plot, and whether there is enough parking space, enough room behind. All of those decisions, your builder can only do so much, but it comes down to preference. And since you are the eventual owner of such a building, you want to ensure that you are able to have a say in terms of all of these placements and sizing. And so that's why the foundation is really important for you to be there. The other important checkpoint, and there are sub checkpoints, right? Like if it gets to lintel, it's a great checkpoint to be there if you can be there, and if you get to the roofing. But if you can only be there, let's say twice, the second one is when you start your finishing. So let's say when you do your roofing, and then you are going to put in some of the final aesthetics, and the distinction here between the foundation and this stage is that while the foundation help you to avoid permanent errors that you'll be stuck with forever, the finishing is important to ensure that the final outlook or the aesthetics is according to how you want it. Otherwise, you have a very solid building, everything is perfect, but it doesn't look nice for you. Again, for the finishing, if you look at our case, for instance, we were there, had input in terms of tiling, which we would choose. We actually went to shops. You can see on the screen, I went to shops, took prices, took various things, looked at them, had a feel of how it looks like. When they are finishing, you also get to correct some minor misalignment and screening and stuff. So that stage is really important for you to be there to ensure that you get it right. And again, finishing is down to your taste. That's why it's a great time to actually be around if you can choose to be there. The second point, which is equally as important as the first, or perhaps even more, is getting a trusted builder to work on your project. This is very important. And trusted is not just like saying a family member or a friend or someone you've known. It can be any of these people, but trusted is in the sense of, the person has integrity. It has to be someone of integrity, your brother, your friend, someone who is recommended by a friend, or like a company that actually works based on integrity. And the way you go about that is through vetting and assessment of the work of such a builder. That person should have been involved, whether professionally or by trade, in building a building of a similar structure or a similar complexity as what you are putting up. For those who are Christians, I would encourage you to listen to what the Holy Spirit is speaking into your heart. It's very important. The Bible says He will guide you, with His eyes. So that's also a very important filter for you, because if there is something that you are uneasy about or you're uncomfortable in your spirit about, then it does mean that no matter how great the credentials of such a builder is, they are not meant for you. So that's very important, right? So you want to find someone who is qualified, who is able to do your building, and who has integrity. Really important. That's the second point. The third one is get a third party to check and validate what has been done at key milestones. Again, you are not there. And even if you were, you have to either have the experience or the technical eye to know that what is being done is right or wrong. So it always makes sense to get a third party independent person to assess and validate the progress of your project. And this is not a matter of trust or distrust of your builder or anything like that. It's just a matter of quality assurance. For a complex project, you don't wait for the final thing to be delivered to you, right? You have milestones, you have checkpoints, and at each of these, you check whether the project is meeting the timelines and the quality and the expectations and the requirements that was set out from the beginning. They are going to check whether what has been done meets the structural requirements, the right rod thickness, the right foundation, the level, room sizes, like everything is according to what is on the drawing or what has been agreed on. And this can maybe cost you about $100 per visit, but you do it maybe 3 times and it's $300. I think the benefit of that pales in comparison to not doing it at all. Now, the fourth point is that get videos and pictures and get them frequently for anything you send your money for. Right? You send money for foundation to be done, get a couple of videos, right? And I am super busy, like dealing with family, work, ministry, like everything. But I believe in grace that enables you to do things that you would otherwise not be able to do. And so, like I pray that as for anyone listening to me, as many as believe that you receive grace be multiplied unto you, so that you are able to embark on your project and succeed at it. Now, if you've started and maybe you paused because there were some problems, there is grace for you to actually start and be a success at it. So just follow some of these steps and just listen to how God is leading you along these lines, so that you are able to embark on a successful building project. The final point I'll give, which ties into everything that I've already said, is you can actually go slow when you are away if you are okay with the speed of your project. Let's say you want to be around during a particular stage in your building project. Let's say the roofing or the finishing part where you start your plastering and windows and other things. Now that means that you can slow down on the substructure and superstructure build and time it such that that portion is completed right at the time that you'll be available and present to see your roofing or your finishing. The other reason why slowing down is important is when you slow down, you allow things to evolve, especially if you don't know your builder. You also get to sit on certain ideas long enough so that you'll be able to evolve. So feel free to slow down. In fact, one recommendation is even before the building starts, make sure that you've sat on your design for a couple of months or weeks, and don't worry too much about depreciation and inflation and other things. Especially if you are building from the diaspora, your currency doesn't fluctuate a lot, and the math is such that if you wait a couple of months, it's not going to really affect the, let's say, dollar cost or the euro or pound costs of the actual build. So folks, these are all the tips I have for you for now. If you have other tips, please do share those in the comments as it benefits the community. God bless you and see you